Hello. I'm in my garden. This is part 2 for my video on Aspergers syndrome, and I hope that the light is somewhat okay. The sun is coming from there, and it might shine a sunbeam of love into the picture from the side, and it happens sometimes. And I've seen alien spaceships forming themselves from the other dimensions in form of sunbeams coming into the camera lens from the side. This is the most amazing thing. I have some photos of that on my Facebook page, Nicola Dandelion, and I have other photos, really remarkable photos of the spaceship, and I have put those as my video photo, I think, on this channel way back, that's like more than 2 years ago. So that would, require a lot of researching and scrolling down until you get to those videos. So I only get to see my old videos once in a while when they're actually popping up from the YouTube suggestions themselves, and I go like, oh my gosh, I made that video a couple of years ago. Weird, look at my eyebrows. And so, but yeah, I don't know where that is now, that spaceship photo, but that's pretty amazing. A real alien spaceship that showed itself in form of the sunbeam coming in from the side. So yeah, I sent sunbeams of love to Zane, and I am no longer suffering now, because I cried my way all the way through, and that helped, and you helped me by being a good trigger, so that doesn't mean that I'm just using you as a trigger. It is a real interaction, and it's not silly just because it's in the chat room. They're really real feelings, that came out from me, at least. I don't know about you. I think you had some feelings too, but you suppress them and you run away from it, and you're afraid of me for sure. I can tell. You have declared me Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's a scary formation, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, Wow. So, yeah, I don't blame you. I'm an empowered woman, Most men are afraid of an empowered woman. They want to control the woman. They don't want a femme fatale. They don't want a flamboyant artist, unpredictable, psychologically empowered, independently thinking woman in their life, so that can make something out of her life, and then you are not the one who's calling the shots in it. You'll be a pawn on her chessboard, okay? She's the queen and you're a pawn. And that's what goes through your ego, but that's not how I'm thinking at all. That's not how my mind works. My mind works, we're on eye level, and I'm empowered, I give love, I want to help the world, and I believe that we can do it. I wonder if this is still recording. Yeah, it is. So it's very difficult to see on this monitor. So yeah, I want to help make things better. I suffer from Aspergers, which is not a disability. It is actually it's an ability. It is a skill, so it's a gift, that's how I view it. So it's a little overwhelming, it's because we see too much at once. We see every single insect on the lawn. I mean, like everything. I remember details from the past, and my dad was like, you remember all of this? Weird. Yeah, and it sucks, and it's hardcore, and I'd rather not remember all of these things. Different things that come, different situations that pop up in my dreams or during the day. They pop up seemingly out of nowhere. They haven't even been triggered up, I guess. So yeah, stuff comes up from the past, and then I have to deal with it. I have to. This goes through my mind, and then I have to churn through this. And someone else would say, you need to suppress that. Okay, you got to change your mental state with NeuroLinguistic Programming or whatever. You need to scramble up your neuronal connection, blah 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 blah. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, it is much more complex. There's an entire energy. We're dealing with energies, not just with neurons that have been created, that neuronal connections that have been created in a specific way. People had frontal lobotomies done, and they thought that would end all these neuronal connections that were bothering them. It didn't, it just caused another trauma on top of the other trauma that they were trying to scramble away. You can't scramble it away, that's the thing, The past is not just in our brains. The past is in our bodies, or the past is even connecting itself to our DNA. That's how vicious this thing is, okay? But let's not view it as vicious. It's just difficult, it's problematic. But every problem can be solved. We just have to find a solution to it. That's all there is to it, we can find a solution. So there's the perfect solution to every problem. Okay? That's what I believe. Somehow something itches. I wonder why. Yeah, there's a solution for everything, and Asperger's is a skill. It is a gift. Okay, it's an ability. It is heightened sensitivity. Our past is there in energy form. We can't do it away with anything, with alcohol, drugs, whatever people are doing. You can't get rid of it. You can never get rid of it. But the solution comes in when we accept the past. Okay, I've watched a fairy tale film long time ago in Germany, and I thought that was so symbolically great. There was some little boy or something was there, and he was absolutely terrified. of a troll. And you know, the troll. What is actually, where does that word come from? What is a troll? You know, a troll is a fairy tale figure, like a unicorn. A troll, like a garden dwarf, you know. So a troll is a dwarf, but a little bigger than a garden dwarf. So a little bit bigger. Although there are different types. There are gnomes and all kinds of different fairy tale formations. You know, the troll is a mean dwarf, and the troll is unhappy with himself, so he makes other people feel unhappy because he doesn't want to see other people happy because he's unhappy. So that's a fairy tale figure, and so naturally that was then used to describe people on the internet that are making other people's lives miserable because their own lives are miserable. So there's a solution for all of this. But in that fairy tale, the boy is afraid of that troll that comes, that garden tall dwarf. Yeah, I don't know, he's like 3.5 feet tall. The garden dwarf is like 1 foot tall or something. So the troll is a little bigger, and he comes at him and he does all kinds of tricks on him and spooks him, freaks him out. And then at some point, some fairy comes in, a good fairy, and she says, "You need to love that troll." So next time the troll came around the corner wanting to cause some terrible problems, the little boy decided he's gonna open up his arms and he says, "I love you," wholeheartedly. And he goes up to the troll and he takes him in his arms and he kisses him on the cheek and he holds him tight, he says. And the little boy is the same height as the troll, but the troll is like an old man with a white beard. So as he holds that troll in his arm, the troll begins to cry, because that was the first time in his life that someone cared about him, you know, that someone opened their arms and said, "I love you," you know, no matter how trollish you are, I love you. And it's very symbolic, not just for human interaction and interaction with any living being. The Buddha was meditating in jungles where, that's, of course, those are tales. I don't know if that's true, but I think it's true. You know, the Prince Siddhartha, he wanted to find out what it's like to be experiencing all of that, what he saw other people experience, you know, all these different hardships and stuff. He goes into the jungle, he meditates there, and because of his unconditional love, there are boa constrictors coming at him and licking his face, and they decide not to eat him because they decide, this guy is cool. This guy loves me, you know, he is my friend, so I'm gonna go somewhere else, eat another living being, but not this Siddhartha prince, because he's nice. And in the same way, you know, so we give this unconditional love, and the other being, animal or human, sees that and feels a kinship, feels a friendship. You know, we are family, we're friends. I can rely on you. I'm not going to hurt you. Why should I hurt you? So there's no reason for it. I trust you. You know, it's trust that's really the most important thing for all living beings. You saw it in the video yesterday with the Bambi deer boy, how he was always going backwards and then he would come back forward and go backwards. You know, he wants to trust, he wants to check me out, he would like to come over and see if I have something for him, but he's afraid because Not only is he afraid because he sees people that have bad energy and hunters, he has inherited that fear of humans. That's how far this goes. That's how the past can be inherited. So, but fairy tale is much more symbolic for anything that is actually difficult for us to deal with, that we would rather scramble away, and some people want to do a frontal lobotomy or electric shock treatments to scramble that stuff up. But it doesn't go away. That's the thing. Yeah. So instead of trying to avoid all of this, instead of trying to avoid the ghosts, like I've been afraid of ghosts my whole life. I talked about this in my other video. It's embarrassing, and my dad would laugh about me, and Paul would laugh about me, and I'd be terrified, absolutely terrified. It's ridiculous, and be in resistance and all of this. So, and then, after that panic attack, I started to listen to Jiddu Krishnamurti every day. And as I was listening to Jiddu Krishnamurti, which, obviously, he is Gautama Buddha. This is one of Gautama's incarnations. And he's talking to Dr. David Bohm, theoretical physicist, and they're talking about metaphysics, they're talking about the paranormal, they're talking about things that are going much beyond science, where, the scientist usually doesn't understand that he himself is looking through his own eyes of subjectivity, and that has something to do with that what we observe. I observe something out of my own eyes that are very subjective. So that fairy tale is very metaphorical, and such a great example of embracing anything that is difficult, whether that is a troll or a situation or our past. We are running away from our past. The more we run away from it, the more it makes us suffer. We suffer from it. The moment we are in resistance, we suffer from it. So we have to open up. We have to do what the little boy did, and we have to open up our arms wide and say to the past, I see you, past, trauma, inner child, I see you, starshine, I see you. You have to say that to yourself, Zane. You have to say, write it down every day. Don't drink alcohol, or at least give yourself a couple of hours with sobriety. When you get up, write it down. Write a letter to Starshine. Okay. And I don't mean write a letter to your ex. You use your ex photos. So why don't you use a photo of you when you were a little child and put that on the Starshine account? That would be more appropriate, because that is your inner child, that account. And talk to him. Like I said when I was reading from the book by Thich Nhat Hanh, the guy who was envisioning his dad as a 5-year-old little boy, and suddenly he was able to see him with compassionate mind state, and see his own inner child, at age 5, and feel compassion. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to really run away from that fast. So embrace that inner child. Talk to him, talk to her, and say, I say to my inner child, little Nikki, I see how much you suffered. I see how helpless you were. You were so helpless. You were such a helpless little creature. Completely vulnerable, like 100% totally vulnerable to the neurotic adults. What they will do with you. What they do to you. But the worst injury came from my mother. Worse than the sexual assaults and any of that stuff. That's all traumatic. But what my mother did with me, even worse than my grandfather bullying me, what my mother did with me, that was the absolute worst. There's nothing that comes close. The ice coldness comes out of her jealousy, But how can a child understand that? As a child, you need your mother to be the rock in the surf, okay? You need your mother to be rock solid, there for you, unconditionally loving you, and being there and holding you and saying, when I came home from school and the boys bullied me, and I felt ashamed and I felt dirty, and I would go under the shower and I would try to clean everything. I was just 8 years old, and my mother would say, "What did you do to them that brought that on?" Can you imagine a mother saying something like this to her little girl? What a cold-hearted thing to say. I mean, those are what Dr. Aspergers calls major primal scenes in someone's life, where you feel like the whole world collapses under your feet. Or when my mother said, when I came home and everything was crossed out, when we had a spelling test, and my mother would take that notebook in the other room and stomp her foot on the ground and shout into the room, "Why do I have a retarded daughter?" And my world collapsed under my feet. I looked at the rug under my feet, and I was 6 years old. And I saw the parts of the rug was coming up, the stitches on the side. And I thought, "Rug, why don't you swallow me up? I want to become you. I want to become a rug." Because I already felt like a rug, She stepped on me. She stepped on my love. She stepped on that tender little flower that I was. And then monstrous suffering of my entire life came out of that 4 suicide attempts. Unbelievable suffering with mental illness, borderline OCD comes out of that. And that's why I didn't want to have children. For me, it was like the idea that I could do something like this to my child, although I know I wouldn't, but just the fear of it made me have a phobia of having a child. Because I don't want to do that to another living being, like bring another living being into the world and make her or him suffer like I suffered. No way, no way. For the same reason, I also would rather adopt a dog than pay a breeder for bringing more beings, new beings into this world when there are millions and billions of dogs waiting for someone to adopt them. I'd rather But then I fell in love with the papa dog and with that entire body. And to find another papa dog for adoption, the chances are so minute, like winning the lottery, that I keep looking, but I can't find any. I have to have that particular body. That's very selfish, And yes, I'm just a human. I'm selfish. I wanted to make that also clear in this video. I was thinking about this when I woke up. And Paul always keeps telling me so that I know, to make sure that I know that I am a selfish asshole. Okay, because obviously that makes him real mad that I am not attracted to him anymore and that I'm looking for a boyfriend and that I'm talking to other men, and that sucks for him, and I know it sucks for him, and it's really, really terrible. And I've told him many times, if this is too much for you, then we have to separate. And I want to separate myself from him, but I'm financially dependent on him. So, and I try to find him a woman, and this is ridiculous, I told Philip earlier on Facebook how I've been trying to find Paul another woman, and it just doesn't work that way. Trying to matchmake him with another woman, even though he met someone somewhere and they talked, but then she was just being nice to him, and then he thinks of himself that he can never find another woman. He thinks he's too old and too sick. He can never find another woman. I said to him yesterday, there is a person for everybody out there. For everyone. Okay? For everyone. I know Norbert, my ex in Germany, the psychotic Norbert, there's someone for him too. There's someone else who he can meet, maybe someone who's disabled, or someone who is suffering from a very crippling mental illness as well, or someone with DID, or some woman that he would like, I know there is someone for everyone, not just someone like Paul, who is not my match, but someone who is your match, I know there is a match, an actual match, a biological match with chemistry and with being in love and all of that kind of stuff. I know there is someone like that for every single person. There's a woman with DID. I watched her documentary films, and she finally found a boyfriend. He is an older guy, he's like, I don't know how old she is. She's like in her 30s, and he is in his 70s, and he's fat and old, but he's still fit, and is able to make love with her, and they're in love with each other, and he doesn't like some of her personalities, obviously, but he sticks with her anyway. He loves her, he's in love with her, and he puts up with that, and they found each other, and that's amazing. So there is someone for everyone. I know there's someone for every single one of us. Okay? And that's good, and we need to believe in that. Okay? So regarding Mirage Man, we mirage man is not a real man. A mirage is just an apparition, you know. A mirage is a ghost. A mirage is someone who is not grounded in himself, you know, and who or a mirage is some image that we are in love with because it feels safe to be in love with that image. It feels safer than going out there and meeting a real man. Oh, I can relate to that. So, yeah. The more we cry, the more we heal, the more grounded we become psychologically, and the more we will be able to recognize someone who would be a real match on every level. Okay, so that is what I strongly believe. You know, I strongly believe this, and the most important thing in this entire lifetime that we live is that we love ourselves, we love our own bodies, we're good to ourselves, and that we allow ourselves to face whatever comes up, whatever emotions come up, whatever pain comes up. If I am afraid of ghosts, you know, as I have been up until I had that panic attack, which was really, it was the accumulation of all the fear. The fear of ghosts was also involved in that, and it was also had to do with ego energies, and it had to do with paranoia. I thought the government was trying to round me up and put me into a laboratory and test on me. I was a dog, a Great Dane, and that was tested on in a laboratory in my past lifetime. So we carry that with us, this kind of fear and terror and trauma. And it's not going to be scrambled up by drugs or by lobotomies. Okay, it's there for good, but we need to embrace it, and we need to say, I see you, I am here for you. Inner child, I see you trauma, I see you troll, I see you horror image. I see you, my teacher, the horrible situation that I'm afraid of. And I embrace you, and I look at you fully. I'm not going to numb myself. I'm not going to scramble this up with NLP. I'm not going to do transcendental meditation to think about something better. That's just running away. That's not honest. Okay? The stuff is there. Okay? Let's deal with it. That is our mission in life. We have to deal with it, and when we do that, then we don't act it out on other people anymore. Subconsciously, usually, you know, or consciously. Don't need to act anything out anymore. We don't need to do bondage shit and stuff like that. I talked to Enigma about that. You know, he accused me of being prudish. I'm certainly totally not prudish. Okay, so he's barking up the wrong tree here, you know. So no, bondage is sickness. Okay, it's not coming from some kind of religious morals. No, it is sickness. I even have that in me too, believe it or not. It's super embarrassing. Maybe I'll make a video about that sometime in the future. Not right now. That will take up an hour of talking or more. This is so complex. Yeah. So that's sickness, and I don't want to cause suffering for someone. you know. So never, ever, ever. Even though I have some of that crap going on inside of me as well, you know. So, and that's also why I resonate with some of these people in the first place, because, or they resonate with me because they see that energetically, that I got that going as well, you know, as, you know, the counterpart of that sadhu game, you know. So, but I will never act that out, okay? Absolutely never, because I recognize that as sickness, and acting something like this out will not heal us. Okay, what heals us is if we face that what bores up, that what makes us afraid, that what we try to avoid. Face it, look at it. What is it that I'm afraid of? Why am I afraid of that ghost? Why am I so afraid of that ghost? I can't watch horror films anymore. It just scares me so bad I can't stand it. And so what is a ghost? Is actually a restless entity. A ghost is unfinished business, you know. If someone died and then the soul is very, very unrestful, they call it bardo, you know. It is a situation where the soul is not willing to move on. That's quite rare actually, but that happens. Okay, and I have to talk to them. So with the videos by Krishnamurti, he talked about this one time. He usually does not talk about that stuff, ghosts and stuff, because he doesn't want people to hijack that and run off in the wrong direction. Because he's very well aware of how people run away with all kinds of stuff that is exciting, then they totally bypass and miss the whole point of it. So, but he talked about this one time when he said that he has seen these kind of unrestful energies. He once walked into a forest, and there were people gathering before he walked in there, but they had left. They had left about a couple of hours before, but he could still feel their energies in it. And I'm able to do that. I can feel people's energies after they had left the room. I can feel people's energies at night too. You know, they talk to me. They call my name. I'm not making this shit up. It's true. And there's a lot of sexual energy and unrestfulness that is funneled into this, into the sexual thing, and that also ties in with the bondage. So video recording capacity is reaching now, and it will cut off at any point in time now, but I think this is very interesting what Sri Krishnamurti said. He walked in the forest, and so, but what he does is he's not afraid of these energies. He is there for them. You know, we open our arms, we say, I'm there for you, ghost, I'm there for you, you know. I've talked to ghosts since then, several times, and they made peace. No, they made peace with me, they made peace with themselves. That's the most important thing. We need to make peace with our own ego energy that's in us, okay, with our own souls, with our own inner child. We need to embrace it. We need to say, I'm here for you, to your inner child. I am here for you, Nikki. You need to say, I'm here for you, Starshine. You need to put your child photo on it. I highly recommend you to do this. Do it. You can come to my channel with Starshine, but I don't want to see your ex anymore. I hope you understand. You put a photo of your child photo on from when you were 8 years old, okay? And or whatever age, under 10. And then you can ask me questions. I'm here for you. For boyfriend, girlfriend, obviously you are way too afraid of me, and I accept that. But even if you wanted this, or even if you asked me to, I would have to say I am not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a god. Okay, I am a living being. I have needs. I need a stable man. I don't judge you for being unstable. I need a stable man in my life. Okay. It doesn't matter how attracted I am to you or drawn to you, there's something, there's something energetically that could have to do with the past life. It doesn't matter what it is, you have to, for that to happen, you have to become stable, and you have to do that on your own. You have to work on yourself. I can give you good advice, but I cannot be your therapist. I can't be there and being used and abused while you flirt with other women in front of me, and be this God or Buddha that will say, oh, it's equanimity, I love him unconditionally, and yeah, he's flirting in front of me with other women, and for whatever reason, and forget about my feelings. No, I'm not a god. I have feelings. I am not that stable myself. I'm work in progress. Okay, I have borderline myself, and it's very difficult to deal with it, but I deal with it in the most responsible way, and in the most rational way, and in the most loving way I can possibly do this. Okay, for myself and for everyone. And I recommend to everyone to do this. Okay, and I want everyone to come to my channel and ask me questions, because then I can help you. I can give you good advice. And if you're too afraid to come as you, as your authentic self, which you are not authentic to begin with any of your accounts, okay? But if you want to come as your little inner child, I welcome that inner child, okay? And I will talk to you. And I'm here for you as a friend, for a lover, a man. I have to have someone who is actually there for me, who